From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, return to the mailbag. Is it actually running back? That's the biggest remaining need. New quarterback, new offensive line, new staff. How can you not be excited for the spring? And what's CEO Mike Norvell look like in 2025? Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it and take it. Sip the juice, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. 260 milligrams, all natural caffeine, no sugar crash. Clinically proven, award-winning, patent pending, more than 1 million happy customers. Vitamin Energy. Supports weight loss, healthy gut, 7 hours of energy. Tastes great, convenient to drink. No sugar crash, as I mentioned. Immune health improved, and it's fast-acting. Get involved, everybody. VitaminEnergy.com. Sip the juice. Warchant.com, Ultimate Seminole Sports Source. Once you hit the thumbs up, maybe leave a 5-star rating and review. It's been a minute since I've checked this out on the Apple Podcast to see if we got any new reviews and such, but I'm sure there's a nice 5-star out there. We'll read it one of these days. We get to it. In the meantime, leave another one, everybody. Would appreciate it. We being myself and Corey Clark, senior writer for Warchant.com. What's up, Corey Clark? How are you, friend?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. How are you doing? All right?
Yeah, man. Let's get Friday. Feeling
we
good.
Made it. Yeah, we made it.
We did make it. You think we're going to get players this week?
Like more players on the roster? Oh, you're talking about like interviews?
Yeah. Let's talk. Let's do the talky talk.
Yeah, I would say this week or next week. Sure, okay. Sure. I think if people keep making fun of the way Norvell talks, that might be. I didn't realize. I didn't know Jeff. We talked about it on headlines. We did an abbreviated headlines that apparently a lot of people brought up the you knows. He had a lot of you knows in that hour-long conversation with Colhane.
You know, I legitimately, you and I, Ira, Matt, all of us on the beat, we're out there interviewing him, 4 times a week, right? We interview him on Monday, 2 practices, and then after a game. I legitimately never, ever noticed it.
I think I have a theory. I think Tom Lang brought it up, but I shared the theory is that it's when when he knows exactly what he's saying and is emphatic, it is concise and it is direct. Mm-hmm. It's when he's searching for the polite way to say things, or searching for maybe the best possible view of something. When he said he'll say something like that. That was a verbal crutch. The that Corey Clark just came up with. When he's talking about a kid that drops a pass, he won't just say, and then we dropped the ball. He'll go and then we didn't take advantage of that opportunity. You know what I mean? Like sometimes when he tries to be a little too polite or search for the better answer, that's when he get. But when he tells us that he's looking for portal defenders that have elite energy and effort, that was said very, very concise and very authoritatively.
I don't know, man. I mean, you're literally in your own house and you're on a Zoom, and it's absolute. Favorable questions, you're going to be asked. It's on. Listen, by saying that I never noticed it, I didn't notice it until a year ago. Then somebody would bring it up in the YouTube comments, and then it got worse this season as there was less to celebrate about this team and more to nitpick. And then every single time we would post his post-practice interview or whatever, everybody would say something along the lines of, if you took a shot every time he said and the way he doesn't even say it's so fast and just. Again, and we're talking about we're gonna have to take Jordan out there, and it's crazy, but thankfully, I still don't really notice it.
Me either.
As it's happening,
And I was telling Ira nobody transcribes Mike Norvell more than I do. He laughed at that. He's like, "Well, we got other people in the room," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm typing as it goes.
Yeah,
I'm typing and in the moment 1,000 or 1,500 words. I had never really noticed it either. There are some ellipses though, but hey." Jimbo won a national championship, and that guy wasn't a great speaker either. I just did it. So we keep making ends meet.
There we go. All right. Let's start off with some of these questions in the Renegade Express. I wasn't at the Tucker Center on Wednesday. Random _ John, resident hoop knower, hoop or die, Says, good morning to both of us. What are your thoughts on Coach Capel needing to be restrained after FSU's physical victory over Pitt? I get that Malik Ewan's dunk wasn't called for, but it's not like Ewan grabbed a beer and threw it on Capel. What do you feel should happen to coaches who go after players scoring meaningless late game buckets at the end of a game?
Here's what I would say. We can wrap it up because we haven't talked about it. For the people that didn't watch.
Lay it out for us, Corey.
It was a 9 p.m. start time, so I get it. Florida State kind of led most of it. Well, they did. They got up by 16 in the second half, and then the lead fluctuated, I think, between mainly 7 and 12 points the rest of the way. But Pitt kept coming, and they kept playing, and they wouldn't go away, and they got it down to 5 or 6 at one point because their big, tall kid kept hitting threes from the corner. Either way, the game was finally out of reach with about 20 seconds left. Pitt missed a shot. Florida State got the rebound. They were up by 10. The game is over. It had been a very chippy game with the Pitt guys talking a lot of noise, too. More noise, really. And anyway, Daquan Davis gets the ball at half court, throws it to the front court. We've seen it 100 times, guys. The end of a basketball game. I'm explaining that to you. When the game is over, the other team that's losing is given up. Usually the team that's winning just dribbles out the clock. That's just what happens. Well, they didn't, or they have walk-ons in trying to score. Pitt didn't do that, or Florida State didn't do that. Their best player, or second best player, went and dunked it with 2 seconds left to put the game, to make the final score a 12-point game. I don't know that Capel was after him because of that, although that's what started it. Like, I'm sure there was a lot to be said in the handshake line. By the way, we can get rid of handshake lines, can't we?
Yeah.
What's the point of them? A good game, good game. I mean, what do you need to do that for? This isn't Little League. The NBA doesn't do that. But anyway, so after the handshake line, there's obviously some words thrown at Malik Ewan, and then the benches, or well, wouldn't we call it the benches at that point, cleared. The two handshake lines kind of encircled each other. Capel wasn't. It's not like Capel had to be restrained from Ewan as soon as the buzzer hit 0. There was 2 or 3 minutes in between, so I don't know what exactly. I don't know what he heard, what he saw. So I'm not going to just say he was trying to attack Ewan because he dunked the ball. I think it was because of what happened afterwards, and maybe I don't even know who he was going at. It's hard to tell from Ira's video who exactly he's mad at or being restrained from going at. But yeah, it's not a good look anytime a coach, especially in the heat of a moment like that, when you want cooler heads to prevail. You want the adults to get a hold of a pretty toxic matchbox type. It's a tense situation, man. You don't want the coach to be the one that has to be restrained, because once the Pitt players who were already mad, they're mad that they lost for the 3rd straight game. They're mad that the big center for the other team dunked on them with 2 seconds left after they'd given up. They're already mad, and they're yelling at the other team, and then they see their head coach having to be restrained and he's mad. That could really start it up. So, yes, Malik Ewan, don't do that again. I don't care how much noise they talked. I don't care how much they bothered you, how much they pestered you. No need. You're too good to dunk the ball like that, uncontested with 10 seconds left, or 2 seconds left. But also, Capel, man, you can't be the one that's having to be restrained. That's not what adults, the coaches do in that situation. That was, I was going to say I would have liked him to get through. I don't even know if he was going after Ewan. But if he was, I don't know that he wanted any of that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What are you going to do, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, but then I was like, man, he'd want it more than Danny Hurley.
Yeah.
And Danny Hurley would be one of those guys that, oh, get off me, let me get at him. Malik Ewan would put Danny Hurley in a trash can. But like Phil Kofer and him got into it when, like, his first or second year at UConn when Florida State beat them pretty badly. Kofer, he yelled at Kofer, and Kofer yelled back. Kofer would have slung him into the 12th row.
Yeah.
But Jeff Capel's a pretty big dude, and he's like a 6'3". He was a pretty powerfully built guy, so it'd be a little more fair fight. But, yeah, not a good look all around, but a great win for the Noles.
Quad 1, I heard.
For the time being. We'll see what Pitt is after this loss. But, yeah, for the time being, it's a top 50. I think that's quad 1 is what, top 75 RPI. So that was Florida State's first of the year, was beating a team that was in the top 75 in the RPI. But a good win. I mean, they're 3-3 in the conference now. They're 12-5 overall. If they don't collapse or get injuries or screw it up royally, they should at least get to 20 wins. I don't foresee them getting to the tournament, but 20 wins would be a nice season.
Galvanizing win, or will we find out when they take on Georgia Tech tomorrow?
I don't know. It's not. I don't know if it's galvanizing, but it was a needed win. You need to win those games at home. You're as good as that team is, and it's also a good look after the horrible game on Saturday. Like, they played with so much energy in that first half against Pitt because they were so not energized at Clemson. So it's just good to see them have some pride and some bounce back like that. It's also 2 games in a row they've had a crazy dunk at the end of the game that they didn't need. So we'll see what they got in store for Georgia Tech at the end.
I don't want to compare Leonard Hamilton to Bobby Bowden, but I'm going to compare Leonard Hamilton to Bobby Bowden. Bobby got a nice, favorable bowl matchup that last go-around. They let him finish it out in the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville. Does Leonard deserve maybe a bid for what happened during the COVID year if he can get to 20 wins, just for Lifetime Achievement Award?
If offered, could petition the NCAA committee, yeah. But also, Florida State.
Who would Florida State keep out? Florida State wins 20 games, Corey. You know more about this than I do. I mean, they're what? Like, they're a 9 seed? I mean, who are they going to keep out? Nebraska?
They would probably be a 12 seed. So, yeah, they would keep out, like, the 10th place team in the SEC.
Like
Texas A&M or something.
Is that team going to win it all? Probably not. Let Leonard have a shot. Let Leonard go out and play.
That might be the best idea you've ever had, Aslan, because I was going to say Leonard Hamilton isn't Bobby Bowden in the prestige and the championships and everything else. He wouldn't get like a farewell, let's take care of one of the all-time greats. Leonard Hamilton's one of the all-time goods, but he's not one of the all-time greats. Yeah. But the fact that his best team didn't get to play in the tournament because of COVID, I think that's a good selling point. I think Alford should be on the horn being like, make an exemption, Leonard Hamilton exemption, that his you reward Florida State for the COVID team.
We'll do a first 4 game.
Go to Dayton.
Yeah.
Go to Dayton and play. Yeah, go play Nebraska in the first 4. Yeah. Great idea, Aslan.
If we get to 20 wins. That's
right.
All. That's all. All right, back to our regularly scheduled programming, football. Noel Tiggity 11, which, by the way, I was always kind of like, what's Noel Tiggity? And then No Diggity, I think. Noel Tiggity, maybe. So shout out Blackstreet, Teddy Riley. Good morning, gentlemen. I know you're both going to say defensive tackle is the biggest roster hole still to fill. So outside of defensive tackle, what is the biggest roster hole still to fill in your opinion? I think it's running back, says Noel Tiggity 11. I know this does not seem to concern Corey, but we only have a grand total of 408 yards of running back production returning on this roster, and not much I saw of those 408 yards of production look special. I know we have a nice but completely unproven freshman coming in Chroma. In every other area, you have harped on the fact that we needed to bring in players with proven productivity, but seem to be willing to go without, or rather to be willing to go with projecting talent at this position group, and that this will be good enough. So why not a proven running back? And if not, what position outside of defensive tackle do you feel is more of a need?
That's all fair. I would say maybe the other safety spot for me. But, yeah, also defensive end, honestly. Like, it's just hard with a 3-3-5 to know what are you counting on your defensive ends. If they play a lot of 3-3-5, you're kind of getting – the guys coming off the edge are going to be linebackers and not necessarily defensive ends. You know what I mean? So I want to see what that looks like in the spring to see what kind of pass rush I feel like they can get with the linebackers and the defensive ends they have on the roster. But, yeah, any defensive lineman I think is still priority 1. But that's a fair point with the running backs. And Chroma doesn't get here. We confirmed doesn't get here till the summer.
Unbelievable. My bad, everybody. I thought he was already here.
Which is a bummer. I would like him to be here already. You don't want him starting behind. It would be nice if he was already on campus because I do think he is going to be, and this is just a thought, I don't have any proof because he's only played high school, but as excited as they are about him, the push they made to go get him, the fact that he came, that Malzahn, it was obviously a pressing need, and Malzahn went after this kid, tells me they think he's got the goods to play and play right away. And Malzahn knows what that looks like, right? He's been doing this for 25 years, 30 years. He knows what a really good college running back looks like. But that's fair. He is not proven. And I was not, I'll be frank, and I've said it before, was not impressed with Cam Davis. And Roydell Williams, barely played, and when he did, he wasn't anything special because Haya Holmes could never get on the field. So there is absolutely a question mark at running back. What gives me more, I guess, confidence in that position is the guy running the offense now. I think he will figure out a way, and also remember the quarterback now, but I think he will figure out a way to get what he needs at that position. Whether that means bringing in another guy or not, I think he by the time the season starts, Gus Malzahn will not be saying, "Oh my God, we don't have a running back." He'll have figured it out. They've either gotten another one or he likes what they have. But also, I think this offense, the way it's run, the way it's blocked, the way he and Herb Hand work together, he's had special running backs. He's also just had decent running backs that put up big yards too. It's just what this offense does. Now, a decent running back isn't going to go win you have a great WAR. He's not going to have 3 wins above replacement, but you're going to put up yards on the ground, even if you just have competency at running back. And I do think they have that, right? That's why I just believe in the guy. I believe in the guy in the offensive line coach. That to me is more important right now in year one than just having a hugely productive running back. I just believe in the guy. I mean, I would love that. We would all love that. I'm not saying don't get one. I'm saying I don't think it's a deal breaker for what this running game can be, because I think he'll make one of these guys a 1,000-yard rusher, because that's what he does.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. Running back does feel kind of like dime a dozen position, especially to your point when you kind of combine Gus Malzahn and Herb Hand. But I will say, and speaking with Michael a few times the last couple of weeks about recruiting stuff, Corey, like that push they made for that Utah State running back was real and it was urgent. So it feels like, it was him in particular, Rasul Faison, that they wanted. So now can you say it's him particularly or that position? Maybe it's a little bit of both. I think it was more like, we're not going to force it, but we think this kid is, I don't want to call him like Keon-esque, but when they were building that 23 roster, it was like, all right, we got everything we need. Like Keon really wasn't a pressing need, but it was one of those things where you thought you were pretty close to competing for a national championship. And if you get a guy like that, that squarely puts you in that conversation. I think they feel really good about what this offense can be, but if they have a guy like that that's been so productive, you feel that much more confident, because I don't know how much better the defense would be if they get another 4-star, a guy that had 50 tackles and 17 pressures the last few years. I just don't know how much more. The defense is probably going to kind of bump its head on whatever ceiling Tony White can be in year one with what they have. I don't know who else out there can really be a force multiplier, but a really good productive running back could be a force multiplier for this offense. And I think everything is going to be on the offense this year. So I'd rather invest as much as possible on the offense. So I think running back is the right answer, mainly because that's what they try to go after really hard. So
what about this analogy? Like the Florida State offense, the Florida State team in 2022 was obviously good. They won 10 games, finished top 15 in the country, maybe top 12. But the difference, one of the biggest differences between that team and 2023 was, okay, you traded in Pokey Wilson, fine college player, good college player, for Keon Coleman. So maybe the difference between a special running back and what you have currently on your roster, not counting the Chromach yet, or maybe even counting him, we don't know, it's the difference between good and great, or average and good. I don't think it's the difference between average and great. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I follow.
Okay, I don't know if anybody else did, but I don't think a running back that's good, but not like this guy. Like, he's good. He's probably better than anything you have on the roster. He's certainly more proven. Is he James Cook or Dalvin Cook? Is he a guy that it takes you from average to great? Probably not. But he could take you from average to good, maybe. But maybe the Chromach kid too, or maybe Keziah Holmes gets unleashed.
You keep saying Keziah, and I'm like, he's done, but he's not.
No, he's on the team, yeah.
He's still on. He was listed as a redshirt senior last year.
Yeah, Keziah's just going to keep coming back until they prove him wrong.
He's still a redshirt senior, so we'll see if he can get involved a little bit more this season. Maybe there's something about his style that Gus likes more. We'll see. FSU man 50-30, wake up. I like this question a lot, Corey. If you could choose between alternating every other year between 2-10 and 13-0 with no knowledge of how you would do in the playoffs for the next 10 years, or take your chances randomly, which would you choose? I know it's unpopular right now after 2-10, but I don't mind swinging back and forth if we were elite every other year.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do 5 2-10 seasons. You know what I mean? That's what that's asking. That was hard. What we just went through was really hard on all of us. it wasn't.
But when you know greatness awaits just, 9 short months later.
Yeah, but I like college football enough to just give up on a season as it's happened, like before it even happens. Yeah. I like living through it. I would rather have the not knowing than 2-10 to 13-0. I'd rather have the. I just would. I would rather have the. Like, I was a Braves fan from 1995 to 2021. I think they made the playoffs, I would guess, 14 times, and they didn't win it. It's still, I would rather that than there was a season in like one of the Freddie Freeman years where they were one of the worst teams in baseball. That was awful. Mm-hmm. For 2 years, they were awful. I hated that. Mm-hmm. I would hate being like a Pirates or a Marlins fan. I like being in contention every year as a Braves fan, even if sometimes it ends in disappointment. That's why I would 2-10. I mean, imagine going through as a baseball fan, going through a 50-112 season. They're just miserable.
Yeah. But we're conditioned now. Everybody's conditioned.
Well, that's true. We've lived it.
Now.
It's going to get easier. Yeah. The next time they go through it, it'll be easier.
But it's we can joke about it, but it's rough. It's rough, and when you see everybody else again, like when your season is over in September. I mean, forget 2-10. Like the season being done in September, that's brutal. It's absolutely brutal, especially because you can't. You can do this hard reset, which Florida State just did. But like if you're constantly fluctuating, like what do you do? At least that's what has kind of kept all of us a little bit sane the last 45 days or whatever. I remember, Ira would talk about like he was just so ready for the season to end, not because it was, wearing on his psyche or anything, but it was so bad. Obviously, they were going to have to do a whole bunch of things to get it fixed. Like, let's find out what the fixes are. So, you get to the end of the season, like, all right, now they're going to have to get a bunch of new coaches and a bunch of new players in the portal. I mean, you can't. You can only do this once. Like, you only get one time to really hit the hard reset, so you wouldn't be able to do that the next time around. But it would be funny to think about just falling into this weird cycle where every other year you're competing for it, and then the next year, like, you're done in September. But don't have to worry about that. We're back. Hopefully, we think. Fingers crossed. Speaking of this past season, we'll go to our guy down there in Naples, M. Adam CZ. Wake up. Can't remember an offseason like this one. I feel like ever since I started school at FSU in 2000, there was always a bit of Kool-Aid to drink going into the next year, some years more than others. I've always expected a good special year under Bobby, even during the slide in the 2000s. Fresh approach with Jimbo. He recruited like a beast. New car smell with Willie and Norvell. At least excitement and optimism in the air. This year, I don't know what to think. I guess that's what 2-10 does. This is different on so many levels. Same head coach who somehow went 13-0 to 2-10. New coordinators and staff on both sides. Maybe 2 returning starters. 4 out of 22 maybe. Heck, we're even replacing the best kicker and punter in America. How are you guys genuinely feeling as journalists and media members tasked with covering this grand experiment? I'm guessing it will be mostly fun work with all the storylines. Anything you're not looking forward to is always go Noles. Beat Bama, right, Corey?
Amen. I think I'm actually really looking forward to it. It's a palate cleanser from the debacle of 2024. But, back in the day, if Florida State had a bad year, and they didn't have any like this since I've been alive, you wouldn't have been able to just look forward to next year and be like, hey, man, who knows? They could be in the playoff next year. Yeah. You would be like, man, just double your win total. Yeah. Climb out of the muck and get to 4 or 5 wins. Even back to 2020 and 2021, you were kind of saying that. Like that was a 6-win team. They screwed up the Jacksonville State game, but that was a 6-win team. But nobody was expecting. Nobody had any delusions of grandeur with that team. They knew that 6-6, 7-5 would be about the best. I think that's not the case now. We have no idea, and that's what makes it exciting. It also makes it you get a little trepidatious, right? Like there's nothing that tells us for sure that this isn't going to be a 4-8 team. We don't know. I don't think it will be because I believe in the coaching staff, but the ones they brought in. But still, we don't know what it's going to look like, which makes it fascinating and fun, but also a little trepidation there. Because, last year at this time, and it turned out to be erroneous, but not in our wildest dreams would we have thought it was a 10-loss season coming up. Right. We knew they'd take a step back, but not a leap backwards. So that, but that was still fun because you got to see the new pieces. But this is, I don't know, I just feel like I'm more, we have to be optimistic, because what's the alternative? But I'm also truly optimistic. I do think they made some really important changes within the foundation of the program, certainly on the coaching staff and the way they recruited the portal, that there's no telling what this will look like. So that makes it fascinating. Long answer. Kept saying the same thing over and over again. You're welcome, everyone.
If there was a pie chart for this coming season where it's either it's a horrendous season similar to last year, or it's a season where they maybe just miss a bowl game, a season where they get into a decent bowl, a season where they make it to the playoff, or a season where they get into the playoff and they win games, the atrocious piece of the pie for me is so small. Like, I cannot imagine. I can't imagine them going 3-9 or 4-8. I can't. I don't. That's hubris. I don't even know how to describe why I don't feel that way. That's why I do feel excited about what is to come, because it's going to be total new look, total new feel. I mean, this is, Mike is obviously the head coach still. He's going to be involved. He's going to be energetic. He's going to have his hand on everything that's going on at practice, maybe even more so than he previously did with being able to trust Gus so much. But, man, a Thomas Castellanos offense versus what we had last year, yeah, I can't even. It's two completely foreign things competing against each other. Malzahn in hand
too, and I would also say you do start off the season 2-0. I know you're not going to. Alabama doesn't count as no, but I'm not counting Alabama as a loss. But going into the season,
what's your floor?
You have 2 wins,
right.
So that if they went 3-9 or 4-8, that means they went 2-8 in the other 10 real games. Well, that's as bad as this year. And I don't think anybody listening to this or the two guys talking on this show could fathom them being as bad as they were last year. It just wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't compute. So even if they're just a little bit better, well, that gets them to 4-6 or 5-5. So now you're at 7 wins. So that's why it gives you hope too. Is I keep bringing that up, but I do like that they're starting with 2 wins. Again, they're not starting the season with 2 wins. They have to play Alabama first. But going into the season, you have 2 guaranteed wins. And then you have, Alabama, Clemson, and Florida. You're probably your 3 toughest games when you look at it here in the middle of January. But the other 7 games are absolutely winnable. And those 3 they aren't automatic L's by any stretch. At Clemson and at Florida should and always are tough. Alabama for an opener, not the easiest opener you could have, but Alabama ain't Alabama of 2017 either.
Nope.
So they're all winnable, but you have 2 absolute wins. You have no guaranteed losses. That's a good way to start the season, even if it's 10 coin flips. You have 2 wins and 10 coin flips to be polite. Go 5-5.
Would you say Clemson's not a guaranteed loss?
No.
Okay.
Not a guaranteed loss. It would be, I would say they're going to be an underdog in that game, but I wouldn't say it's a guarantee. First year coordinator, unproven guy from Indiana. Come on, man. What are you talking about?
I agree with that. It's crazy when you look at the Clemson game, like the last 3 seasons, a chip shot field goal is the only thing that really kept Florida State in winning one of them. So
but also it ain't like Clemson just since 2021 they haven't. It's not like Clemson's murdered them either.
No.
They've all been games. Even this past year was a game in the fourth quarter. Like, they're all games.
I know, but that in 22 didn't really feel. I mean, I guess the middle 8 got away from them in 2022.
Yeah, that was it. I mean, it wasn't like they got steamrolled by Clemson.
Right,
they were just clearly inferior. It's just Clemson had that middle 8 with Shipley, and they took over the game. But taking a Daboism, I think in 2022, if those teams play 10 times, it's probably 5-5. It's just that middle 8, especially after 2 straight losses, they really kind of, urinated all over the bed and lost the game right there. But they were as good a team as Clemson that year, I thought.
But to Mark's point, I am curious to see like the level of excitement, because I think spring. I don't think there's going to be as much as there should be in spring, because I think a lot of people really did take this past season hard. Not so much.
Absolutely.
The 2-10 combined with just what NIL is becoming, and listen, on Thursday, apparently the Department of Education's Title IX department came out and said, not so fast. Like, if you have plans on this $20 million distribution going 90% to football and then women's basketball gets 1%, nope, that's not going to be legal. So we're kind of maybe back to square one in that regard. There's just so many things that make this great sport right now not very savory. But I do think once we hit July and August, and it's because it's the Alabama game too is obviously going to be a huge sort of hook to get everybody back. I think by the time we hit into June and July, everybody's going to be ready and back dialed in. But I do think spring might not be nearly as I don't want to say bubbly, but I think there's a lot of people that might kind of wait on the sidelines a little bit more this year. But we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong on that one. I hope I am. What I'm not wrong about is telling you how awesome Corner Pocket is. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Another crazy weekend of NFL playoffs awaits. If you're in town, why not head up to Corner Pocket with some friends or make some friends at the CP? Delicious food, ice cold drinks, attractive human beings of both genders, darts, billiards, all those walls of televisions. And again, there's not as many games to pick, but they'll let you know what game's on which, and I'm sure if there's even basketball, and they'll pop it up on the screen. So you can even probably dabble and watch Florida State take on Georgia Tech tomorrow as you're watching it's not, what is this weekend now called? Is it wild card weekend, or is it like divisional weekend?
I think it's divisional weekend.
Divisional weekend is what we call it now. Go check it out. Get a Corey wrap as well. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, cptallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. We're back. It's Wake Up War Chants presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Blue Knoll Corey says, good morning, Wake Up. How do you feel Mike Norvell will do in his role as CEO rather than play caller head coach? I'm really excited about it because I think he's so intelligent, passionate, and detail-oriented that he will be better suited at overseeing the big picture aspect and being able to hold other coaches more accountable during the season, something I think he didn't do last season. I personally think this will allow him to grow as a coach and improve high school recruiting results. What say you?
Yeah, those are fair points. I don't disagree with him. It's just a guess, though, because he's never done it. He's never been a CEO. But I do think it...
Well, what about when he came here first? I mean, that's not a great comparison, but, Kenny was calling plays, and he kind of... floated around, I guess,
Yeah, that's true. But I still feel like Kenny was like his underling.
Right.
And I know Malzahn is his underling by name. I mean, he does work for Mike Norvell. Mike Norvell hired him, but that's a different dynamic, man. I think he's really gonna be like, I trust Gus. If you think that's the right play, he'll push back. He's not going to be a pushover. But I do think that he hired Gus for a reason, and it wasn't like to question every decision he makes in a game plan or a scheme or play calling capacity. So I think if he can allow himself to be the CEO and the guy that points out things that he doesn't agree with or questions that he might have, pushes back a little, but isn't in charge of an entire side of the ball, I do think that will absolutely help Florida State, as long as Malzahn's good, which we think he is. I think that, but it's just a guess, right? He's never done it, so I think he'll do well at it. But I'm not 100% certain because why would I be? How could I be?
Yeah, I think I don't want to get down that road of we had such high expectations for the past season, and we just believed that like Mike was it, like he was like the next great head football coach in college football. Like might not be the case now. So I don't know how much of him being freed up is going to open up new avenues of ways to manipulate game. Like Belichick did that thing like 6 years ago or something, 7 years ago, where he found out some like weird loophole where you could get the clock to run and on a penalty and it helped them win a game. Like I don't know if Mike's got that kind of acumen in his back pocket. But to the point about holding like coaches accountable, I really think it's more holding kind of players accountable, because when they would go to 11 on 11, a play would happen. They've got replay boards. Mike would maybe tell a guy to like, hey, check out the replay board. Look what you did here. But then Mike's on the headset or the walkie-talkie signaling the next play. So I think Gus will probably handle most of that during practice. I think that'll let Mike kind of float around a little bit more and see if guys, maybe body language isn't what he wants, or maybe he can have a little bit more like a 15-second interaction with a kid and tell him what he did right or wrong in a play, as opposed to like a 3-second, 4-second, hey, you forgot to do this. And then, I got to get ready for the next play because I'm the head football coach and I'm calling all these sort of plays. So maybe that will be the aspect that helps out. Plus, when you are going through a 2-10 season, he's the play caller as well. I mean, I don't know how much, I don't want to say guys are tuning you out, but there's a little bit of a like a barrier of protection around you kind of now, right, Corey? Because like you're not calling plays, so you can maybe dive into some more of these conversations and offer things, and people can look at you and be like, all right, like Mike's a little bit more absolved of what's going on right now. He's got clearer eyes, clearer head, maybe.
Well, I think it goes back to if his offense was so bad last year that I imagine that's what he devoted a lot of his time to, is trying to figure out what was wrong with the offense, because it was his, and he couldn't figure it out. And he kept, I hope, searching for answers and couldn't finding them. I would hope he was obsessed with that. Like, why is my offense so bad? What can I do to fix this thing? What can I do to kickstart this thing to get it going? Well, then you let other things slip, like the effort on the other side of the ball. I think when you're an overseer, when you're a CEO, you don't have to worry so much about, man, why can't our receivers get open? I mean, you worry about it, but it's somebody else's problem. Your problem is the big picture, and so yes, you would want to know with absolute certainty, why is that happening? Fix it, but also it frees you up to say, yeah, and okay, Adam, tell me why this kid just started jogging right here. What's going on here? I think you can be so obsessed with your side of the ball, like you were talking about, that you're not noticing what's going wrong on the other side of the ball. You're just celebrating good plays you happen to make in practice and wondering why you can't make more of them. And you're devoting most of your time to that. I think freeing up, I don't think a problem like lack of effort will happen with him as a CEO. I could be wrong, though. We'll see. But I just feel like he would have his finger more on the pulse of that because he's watching both sides of the ball equally. He should be anyway, as opposed, and I'm talking about in practice, or in game film, but in practice, as opposed to just, okay, why did my quarterback not see that read quickly enough?
I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but you just mentioned, and I saw a comment on headlines on the YouTube page about you guys, I guess, were talking about effort, I assume, during headlines and the lack thereof it last year. So I don't know. I didn't sense it. It felt like those guys always came out at practice and didn't go through the motion. They strained through practice. I guess maybe we didn't see it enough in the games. I know people took certain clips from certain games and it kind of ran with it. But, I mean, how does that come about in a program that was predicated on effort, and how does it get fixed over, not overnight, but close to overnight then?
I don't know. New players, new coaches.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's we'll see. But, yeah, it was hard to notice during practice as much, but it was absolutely noticeable during games. They didn't rally to the football. Yeah. Didn't attack, didn't play with any aggression, just got pushed around for 12 straight weeks. Well, 11 weeks. Charleston Southern.
Well, Cal, let them know. All right, Mimi Noles says, wake up and Happy New Year. Regarding NIL, are the players hiring agents to negotiate for them? It appears that way looking at all these tweets, Corey. A lot of times reporters will cite the player's agency, but I don't know the ins and outs of how much it works. But, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, these kids can't, their parents want to do what's best for them, but you also need, that's why there's lawyers in this world, so that people's emotions don't get involved. They always talked about, I'm listening to maybe like the Rosillo podcast or something, and maybe talking to Dallin too, our guy with the ACC network. But like when you work on television, everyone like ESPN level talent, Fox Sports talent, they all have agents, and like they're really not helping you that much in terms of getting you better paydays or better slots or really marketing you. But so much of it is like the insulative property of just whatever the station doesn't like about you, they're telling your agent is filtering that in a way to you that's more diplomatic than you having to hear about it like directly from them. So there might be some stuff where these people are able to negotiate stuff and you don't have to hear them say, yeah, you're the fifth best receiver on our roster. We're not paying you that much money. And the agent can be like, hey, listen, they see you as a dark horse, and this is how they value a dark horse in the program. This is what they're offering us. Let's take it. So
there was some guy that was interviewed. I can't remember. I saw it on Twitter. He was interviewed maybe by On3. It was a guy in one of these NIL agencies that said that the agents, and I don't know how accurate it was, but he said that the agents were taking 20%, which got him basically banned, I think, from being a player representative anymore, because the dummies, and I'm going to call them that, if your kid is a high-level prospect and you're giving an agent 20% for his NIL deal, you're a dummy, because the NFL guys give 3%. So the fact that you would give 20% of a lesser number is just idiocy. You're just giving your money away. So, yes, it was. That guy said the going rate, and who knows if it's true or not, because all this is in the shadows. Because why wouldn't it be? Was 20% that the agents were getting. And as most people know, when real-life athletes, like Scott Boras, gets 2 to 3% of his his players' contracts. Not 20. 20 is outlandish. 20 is outrageous.
Especially when apparently so many of these contracts seem to have like weird escalators, and it's up to this amount of money based on you doing X, Y, and Z. It's not listen, all right, $100,000, just show up, make it through bowl season, and that's you'll get whatever 18 grand a month, however it works out over the course of your enrollment to get that number. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Then we're gonna have a clearinghouse that's going to listen, like what Deloitte's going to have a third party for NCAA to look at the NIL deals, make sure they're market value. Who determines what market value is? I don't know, everybody.
It's all dumb. It's all dumb. Just make them employees. Let them collectively bargain and end this flipping nightmare.
Yeah, I guess apparently that might be the loophole around Title IX, is if you make them employees. Then
do it.
For some reason, then you won't have to give them equitable distribution of the money.
Well, look, man, I am all for women's athletics. I don't know that there's a Florida State podcast that talks more about women's athletics than this one. I really do love watching that softball team. Tanaya Latson is a force. I've talked about them for years. I don't know what the education department is arguing, but if they're arguing that women athletes deserve the same amount of money as Cam Ward, that's insanity. Yeah. Think about what Cam Ward did for that university and how much money he made. Except for Juju Watkins and Caitlin Clark, women athletes don't bring in that type of money. So why would they get the same type of compensation? It's just idiocy. Anyway, sorry.
Island Chief, wake up! I was beginning to wonder if Renegade Express had entered the portal.
We're Traveler Express now. Give us all your USC questions.
Watching and listening to Mike's Booster Collins show, it was far from his best performance. 2-10 will do that to a guy. So here's my question. After 2021, when the success of the offense was so closely tied to Jordan's ability to run, why wasn't a true dual threat quarterback Norvell's prime target in recruiting? A follow-up to that, is it time for recruiting services to rename the two types of quarterbacks? Dual threat is pro style. Ooh.
That's good. Yeah, that's there's not even they're all dual threats. Yeah. Who's the quarterback that isn't? Like, is there one out there now, like that's still alive in the NFL?
Yeah, it should be pocket passer versus pro style, right? I guess.
I get it. They're just all dual threats. Just rank them by quarterback. Just one position, quarterback. Yeah. The dual threat is dumb. They're all dual threats. If you can't run, you're probably not a quarterback anymore. If you can't just move a little. So who are the NFL quarterbacks left? Like Mahomes can run.
Burrow
Hurts can run.
Yeah, I mean,
Jared Goff, is he the one?
He's got a little athleticism too.
Yeah, but he's not. He's not a guy that's scrambling for 30 yards. Yeah. Most of them can run. The guy with the Ravens is a pretty good runner.
He's
last
decent.
time I checked.
Decent. Florida native.
Yeah, the guy with the Bills. Yeah, they all run, man. So yes, they should just be labeled quarterbacks, and not the dual threat nonsense.
So hey, we made a bet that I've lost. So I lost two bets. Saying if Mike was going to give any money back to the program, I wouldn't ask him a question until the Miami game.
Yeah, that's right. Man, what a lucky day. Are you gonna stick to that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Other than if he comes by our table at ACC. Actually, no, maybe I'll just have you do it.
Okay,
I'll just
you get out of there.
Or I'll do the speed round only, and I'll have you ask the questions mainly. But the other bet we made was, and I just have yet to pay for it, we're going to go take your wife, my lady, on a double date, and it was based, and whoever's going to lose the bet was going to have to pay for it. I didn't think Mike was going to give up the offense. I just didn't. The way he kind of answered some of those questions during the year, like I've done this before, I'm pretty good at it, just made me feel like he didn't believe he was the problem. He just needs maybe some better players and maybe another staffing change here or two. But the fact that he's handed over the offense, I thought was obviously a huge, huge development. But I try to kind of hint at it on the last show, though, Corey, and to Island Chief's point, I think embracing Castellanos, I think that's a different level, too, of like letting go. because I really do believe, and he would talk about, listen, we had we had Taylor Kelly's, we've had all kinds of different quarterbacks in my time at Arizona State, Memphis. We've had productive offense no matter what kind of quarterback I had. But he did seem to kind of have this, square peg mindset mentality of what he wanted his quarterbacks to kind of look like and feel like. Castellanos totally goes against the grain of that. And for him to be on board with that, I think that's a huge kind of selfless move because, yeah, you've given everything kind of over to Gus, but you could push back on quarterback. Personnel is still your department. Like, it all starts and ends with you when it comes to personnel. So for him to embrace Castellanos, I think kind of goes back to this question about, how come it didn't click quicker in his head about Jordan and then him having to bring in, McKenzie and trying to figure that whole thing out. So I think it's a huge move, selfless move, a leadership move, servant move to embrace a running dual threat quarterback. Yeah,
I think it's just hindsight, though, to say that he should have foreseen the troubles that came after Jordan because he thought like it had been the last 10 years of his career.
But you guys have talked about, sorry, Corey, but you and Jeff mainly were talking about, listen, this offense in 2023 did not finish the season looking great. The offensive line, the running game was not there. I mean, there had to have been something that he saw on film that Jordan kept some sort of tangent of the run game, semblance of it honest because of his presence alone.
No,
or maybe it's just because of his intelligence more so than his athleticism.
Saying, but it was all of it. But I think that when it comes to him looking at the quarterback position, he is right. He had won with a variety of guys. He had won with guys that ran for minus 50 yards in a season and guys that ran for 600. So with Jordan's case, maybe got to 800. I don't know. He ran for a lot in 2021. But, so he had done it a lot of different ways. So that's why I think that you can forgive him for not knowing the roof was about to cave in, like that it was he couldn't foresee his running game being so bad in year 5. Now that's his fault that he would need that dynamic, super duper athletic quarterback that he clearly needed. But Kromenhoek and Brock Glenn can run. They're runny. They're athletic enough. Runny. They're not Castellanos, but they can run. The mistake he made, and I don't want to put it on one guy. He's missed at a bunch of quarterbacks. I'll admit it now in 2025. A.J. Duffy had no business being at Florida State. That was a absolute miss. I don't know what was the thought there. I don't know what they saw. He barely threw at IMG. When he threw at Florida State, when I saw him, it was not impressive. Not an incredibly great athlete either. The other guys, you could see the appeal of a Kromenhoek. You could see the appeal of Brock Glenn. A.J. Duffy, I just don't see it. I don't know where he is now. Maybe he's about to win a Heisman. But
San Diego State, but I think he entered the portal again.
I thought he entered the portal again because he couldn't win the job there because he's not a good quarterback. He's not a capable college quarterback. Chubba Purdy, same thing, I guess. But who knows what Chubba would have done with a better team. I don't know.
And being healthy. I mean, that kid got hurt spring practice or whatever.
But I would say Chubba was the guy he thought. That was the next in line. That he did make a play at Chubba Purdy. And Chubba was supposed to be the guy. He didn't turn into it. But it's not like he forsake the athletic quarterback. They just didn't pan out.
Yeah, last tweet I saw was he entered the portal, but I haven't seen where he landed. Old A.J. Duffy. And Jordan maxed out at 559 in 2020 rushing yards.
Okay, all right, okay.
5.8 yards per carry.
Yeah, and he only played like 6 games.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Solid. All right, next question up here. We're going to go to XDQ004. Wake up. Just wanted to drop a quick note to say hello. Hope you guys are doing well. That's all he's got for us.
Oh, all right. Hey, hello. How are you?
Yeah. Rocket89. By the way, our guy Derek, XDQ004, he's an Omega man, so I want to give him a shout on that. I think we even have a KA that listens to us. So we stretch from Kappa Alpha all the way to Omega, everybody. Rocket89. I posted this a few weeks ago, but I think it was past the time you would have looked at it anyway. Anyway, the LeBron MJ GOAT discussion got me thinking of Cocoa Beach native Kelly Slater. Became the youngest world surfing champion at 20 in 1992 and the oldest at 39 back in 2011 for his 11th world title. He kept competing and won his 8th Billabong Pipeline Masters in Hawaii in 2022, just shy of his 50th birthday.
I like how he's telling us this like we don't know.
Right.
We are dialed into the surfing community. We know exactly what Kelly Slater's doing out there. But go ahead, Aslan, for the people that don't know as much.
Right. I'm not a big surfer, but as an over 50, that has been who has been on a board. Being that good at that age is mind-boggling. Slater belongs in any discussion about GOATs. I forgot the whole crux of this, but I remember somebody replying. I think we talked about LeBron still playing and being productive at his age. And it's like, yeah, who could be 40 and doing what he's doing, and Tom Brady doing what he did, and somebody maybe it was Rocket 89 was like, hey man, like he was 50 years old and Kelly Slater was still winning titles. So
yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that. I was being facetious. I had no idea that Kelly Slater was still surfing that. I don't know if he's still surfing, but surfing. He's married to our girl, right? Gabrielle Reese, isn't he?
No, that's Kirk Karai or whatever. I think the volleyball guy.
I'm pretty sure she's married to him.
Let's
look that up. That's something you should know, Aslan, as somebody that pissed her off in the past.
She's married to Laird Hamilton. He's another surfer.
Oh, he's another surfer. Okay, all right. Not as good as Slater. You missed on that, Gabby.
What did I say to her again that pissed? I forgot what I
don't know. Something about she didn't come back as much as she would like or something.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, some people say that, you haven't been around as much. She's like, well, and she had a really good answer, and I was like, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. I'll shut up now.
But yeah, I would say that being the best surfer in the world at 50 is very, very impressive. I was still saying, I don't know what LeBron is. Is he one of the best 20 still in the world at basketball? Probably.
Yeah,
40?
I think so.
That's crazy. That's crazy. It's just become – it's like Shohei, although he didn't pitch this past year. We've just become like – it's become commonplace. Like, Travis Hunter played 130 snaps. All right, well, that's just what he does. Shohei throws 98 and hits the ball 500 feet and steals 50 bases. Well, that's just Shohei. No big deal. You become numb to it. LeBron being one of the 20 best players in the world, maybe 10 best. I haven't really been paying attention to a season. At 40 is preposterous. Because look, I appreciate Kelly Slater. Surfing is not easy at all. I don't know how many people in the world do it at a competitive level. I know how many people play basketball at a competitive level. So to be one of the best 20, that's you're talking about maybe 500 million people that have played competitive basketball. That's probably overshooting it. 200 million, 300 million, because it's such a big international sport now. To be one of the 20 best in the world at 40 is insanity. But whatever, I'd still take Jordan over him.
His first name's Robert Kelly Slater. Imagine he was just Bob Slater.
Yeah, his middle name's Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, he got lucky that he got to choose. He'd be called Sharkbone or something. Right. There's no way he'd be Bob Slater on the boards. He'd been half as good. There's no way. According to Wikipedia, he dated Pamela Anderson for several years in the 90s, sometimes not exclusively. Met her on the set of Baywatch. Also is in a relationship with Gisele Bündchen and Cameron Diaz. He currently has a long-term girlfriend, Kalani Miller. She's 37. He's 53. I bet she's hideous.
My guy. He's 52. I apologize. Let's see here. Tennis ump. Wake up. Will Warchant have access to winter conditioning like in past years so we can get some feedback on how all our new guys look? Thanks as always.
I'm going to say that all the skill players will have six-packs.
Nice.
Do you agree, Aslan?
Yeah. Dude, there's a photo. If you Google Deuce Robinson, there's a photo from his IG. Just looks like an absolute Adonis. So I know he's covered. And
you're listening to two guys that appreciate the male form.
That's right.
It's what we do. It's what we do in our off time is try to get our male form up to snuff. So we appreciate the guys. Corey's been sending me some
posing photos. His posing trunks haven't arrived yet, but waiting for those.
It's always fun. The gym up here that I go to, these high school kids, there's way too many high school kids. I try to go when they're in school, but they will turn off the lights in the locker room
it's the worst.
So they can pose and have the shading or the shadow that they want. It's wonderful. It's a very fun part of going to that gym. We'll be – they usually let us go to one, right, at the end, one of the winter workouts, the last one.
Yep,
so,
typically.
But I'm going to say Norvell's going to say they're in really good shape. I sound cynical and old, but he's going to say they're really good in good shape. They're working really hard, and he's proud of them.
Last thought coming up right after this.
It's the dawn of a new year. Let us manifest abundance. Or let us live on Earth and take a more measured approach. Do you know that 85% of us have at least one subscription going unused each month?
Yeah, I'm included. Imagine paying $50 at the pump and getting no gas. Imagine dropping $20 on lunch and getting no food. Yeah, let's get our affairs in order with Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel our unwanted subscriptions, plus it monitors our spending. This can help lower expenses and lets us grow our savings. Let's max out those 401ks and IRAs. Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses across all your accounts, allowing you to see all your subscriptions in one place and let you know exactly where your money's going. And for the subscriptions you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can even help you cancel them. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/game-on. That's rocketmoney.com/game-on. rocketmoney.com/game-on. Visit today. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Go check it out. Shake it and take it. Sip the juice. Corey, just want to follow up real quick. Any change in thought about the Carson Beck to Miami stuff after the reporting from Matt Hayes, of all people, which not very popular in Florida State circles, kind of made a living out of dragging the program whenever he could, especially when Bobby was around.
Yeah.
Shame on you, Matt Hayes. But apparently, according to his reporting, I guess Kirby, which just sounds weird, when Carson Beck put his name in the portal, apparently the first coach that called him was Kirby, saying like, hey man, like don't leave. And then apparently Kalen DeBoer in Alabama wanted to get in on the Carson Beck business. And then, I guess John Ariz or whoever at Miami made it happen, and he's now a Miami Hurricane. Any differing thoughts as we kind of process the news of Carson Beck leaving Georgia, being injured, seemingly seemed like not shown the door, but maybe not, the door wasn't caddy barred shut for him to not leave. Any different kind of, should we process it and think any differently about what he possibly could be if apparently Kirby wasn't enthusiastic about losing him, I guess, to put it maybe diplomatically?
But if Kirby wanted him, would he be at Georgia? Like, can Georgia not raise the funds? We don't think that if he's like, dang it, I want Carson Beck, I want him at all, like Miami clearly was. Mm-hmm. If they get anywhere close, don't you think Carson Beck stays? Or was he looking – I mean, there is a chance that he was just looking for a change of scenery, because he was kind of lampooned and, he was not lampooned. That's like people made fun of him. He was not well-liked by Georgia fans this past season. And really, the Alabama loss in the SEC championship game, he didn't win over a lot of fans either, and he was following a cult hero at that position that won 2 national championships. So he might have just wanted to change the scenery because there was a lot of pressure, and he didn't handle it well this year. As soon as he had his first bad game, the fans were irate with him, and they kind of stayed that way the whole time.
He spiraled, man. Yeah, he spiraled.
Now, he won the game against Georgia Tech. He made some big plays in that game, but at halftime of that game, they all wanted him gone. Every Georgia fan wanted Carson Beck. So maybe that wasn't that appealing, and he just wanted a fresh start. But I just have to imagine if Georgia wanted him, he'd still be at Georgia. So, I'm not saying they wanted him bad enough. Like it's like I hate to use this analogy. I apologize, but when a pet gets a disease, there's always a chance to save them, right?
Mostly, yeah.
How bad do you want it? I'm not being serious. We talked to these families where they're like, yeah, it was going to cost $12,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that is completely and utterly understandable. I get it. And you're not even guaranteed a quality of life. Yeah. But it's like, it's going to cost $12,000, and that's just not enough for the recovery and the quality of life that might happen. So it's like, I hate to make that comparison, but I just did because I'm weird.
That's fair.
But it's like, how bad did Georgia really want Carson Beck? They could have gotten in the neighborhood in the ballpark. They decided their money would be better spent elsewhere. But again, I'm not lampooning that play by Miami because they did need a huge upgrade, and he makes them obviously better than they would be if Emory Williams was their quarterback. They go from you look at that roster, if they have Emory Williams as their quarterback, there's no guarantee they win 4 games. Now I think their floor is, 6, 7 wins, and maybe more than that. If Carson Beck's good when he's good. So I get why they did it, and also get why Georgia didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe the waters are poisoned up there in Athens, but I don't think it got that bad. And maybe you could even he doesn't want to play for Mike Bobo anymore, but he was a projected first overall pick coming off a season where he was operating in the Mike Bobo offense.
And it's not like Gunnar Stockton went out there and crushed it
at all.
And God, I can't compete with this guy. They're all good. Now more than ever, Georgia fans will be like, Carson, you're our guy.
Right.
You're our guy. We don't want the backup quarterback. He is not the most popular guy on campus. That guy can't play. And I'm not saying Gunnar can't or won't be good, but he certainly didn't do anything to instill confidence in you in the second half against Texas or the bowl game.
Yeah. So apparently the figures keep going up and up. I think since the last time we talked, it went from $4 to $10 million. Travis Hunter, outgoing Colorado defensive back reigning Heisman winner, said, "How do you get $10 million? Where's my $10 million? How are people getting this much money, bro? Let me go back. I'm going back to college. Let me see if I can get $100 million."
Yeah. I don't know where those numbers are coming from. I know there was a report out there that Quinn Ewers was offered that kind of money to stay in school or to stay in college. I don't know at what school, but he decided to go pro instead. Now, look, man, it is the second biggest sport in the country, and look how much it means to have a winning program. Like, it makes a ton of money for the school, a ton of money for the school, for the conference, for the adults in charge, for the city. Like, it is a big deal to have a good college football team, a really big deal. And it's horrible when you don't, as we just lived through. So it's almost like, what is the price tag? Like, if Patrick Mahomes said, "I want to play 1 year of college football."
Oh, my gosh.
In 2025, I want to play 1 year of college football. And he's a free agent. He could go anywhere. What's that price?
Jeez.
What's he worth? Like, that's it's almost, what does he make now? I would say it's 80% of what he makes now. I think he makes $40 million now, $45 million.
I'm trying to pull it up here. Pull up his SPO track. $50 million in cash this year. He's a $66 million cap hit.
Okay, so $40 million. Because I would say, well, let's say that the college football is what, half as popular as the NFL? 60% as popular? Let's be logical, rational enough and say that it's 60% as popular as the NFL. So $30 million. And would that be a crazy amount of money to guarantee yourself 11 or 12 wins and a chance to win a national championship? Don't know.
Yeah.
It's not going to the coaches anymore, though.
All right, that's a wrap for us. It's a wrap for this week. Thanks for tuning in again, everybody. Subscribe if you already are not. Just makes it easier to get this show into your phone or whatever device you use to listen to us. And we would appreciate it. Hit the thumbs up as well. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Maybe next time we all reconvene, I'll read one of them. We'll be back with the show on Monday. In the meantime, Jeff Cameron Show, also Big Junior Day this weekend, or Junior Weekend, I should actually say. It's not just a singular day, I don't think. So Michael Langston, Matt Lassere got you covered. Everything will be on social, but all the good stuff, all the pertinent information will be over on warchant.com, premium recruiting board, so go check that out. Do it. He's Corey Maslon. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.